pass interference call. It would lead to this score from the quietly efficient one, Amp Lee, who tiptoes his way in from 8 yards out for one of his 3 scores on the day. But the first half fireworks were yet to come. Final play, first half, the coaches think about going with receivers to either side, but instead call it for the Berlin pass route, flooding the right side of the zone. Weldon heaves it. Lawrence Dawsey in a crowd tips it to Shannon Baker, who cradles it for 6. The Noles go up 28-3 at the half and never look back. Neither did Coach Bobby Bowden, who got an early cold shower from behind as the troops celebrate their mentors. Win number 200, 42-3. Visiting North Carolina State in Raleigh, South Carolina was hoping to football. Today's game is being brought today at Williams-Brice Stadium, Columbia, South Carolina, the heart of the Palmetto State, where this afternoon the Seminoles of Florida State come a-calling on the Gamecocks of South Carolina. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Dave Reed, along with Keith Jones. Welcome to Columbia. Big game for both ball clubs. Florida State looking to keep their New Year's Day bowl hopes alive. South Carolina looking to get at any bowl at this point. Seminoles seem to be gelling right now. They look good against Auburn despite the loss, and last week against LSU, we're totally dominating in that ball game. South Carolina just the opposite, Keith. The team that won their first 3, 4 out of their first 5, but has lost their last 2, and they're not tackling well defensively.
They're not tackling well defensively, and they're in the same exact position that Florida State was last week. Lost 2 in a row, name opponent coming in, just like FSU and LSU last week, and the Gamecocks are looking for an upset.
Casey Weldon's going to get the starting nod at quarterback for Florida State again. He rated his own performance about 70% last week. Good enough to keep the starting job, though.
Well, I tell you, people in Tallahassee and the coaching staff of Florida State think that they've really found their quarterback. Casey's performing very well, and he brings a lot of leadership to that offensive huddle when he gets in there. They're real excited about him being at the helm.
Last week against LSU, the 2 linebackers were nothing short of dominating. Marvin Jones and Kirk Carruthers seemingly out of his slump right now.
Well, really much so, in that both of them are nearing 200 tackles. With a good game, they'll both enter into 200 tackles, both of them very close to 100 apiece. Marvin Jones especially, we need to watch, though. He's had some back problems the last couple of days. He may not get as much playing time as might normally be the case.
For the Gamecocks, they have a pretty fair quarterback of their own in number 20, Bobby Fuller. He came with Sparky Woods from Appalachian State. Mickey Andrews says this might be the best quarterback we'll face this year.
And he might very well be. He's already thrown for 1,600 yards. He knows Woods' system, played 2 years at Appalachian State, came to the University of South Carolina without a scholarship, sat out last year with the NCAA rule, and is now the starting quarterback, and he's big time. He is big time.
Yeah, he's got a couple of big-time receivers to throw to as well. In Brooks and Miller, these 2 guys are absolute speedsters, folks. It might be the best receiving tandem in the country.
Well, up here they're going to call him the Fab 2. Brooks is very fast. Miller's faster. Brooks is your possession guy with great speed. Miller's your big play guy. They've got well over 30 catches between the 2 of them. Both of them high in their yards per catch average. They're very, very exciting. This will be the best throw and catch tandem that Florida State plays all year.
All right, as always, roaming the sunny sidelines today, the 3rd member of our broadcast team, Barry Miller. Well, the Columbia Chamber of Commerce is loving this one. 80 degrees, not a cloud in the sky at Williams-Brice Stadium. Columbia, South Carolina, the home of the Gamecocks, as they play host to the 12th-ranked Seminoles and Bobby Bowden, who got win number 200 last week, and the early shower that you saw in our pregame show doesn't seem to set in with Bobby Bowden. He says win 200 is nice, but when you got guys that got 350, it doesn't seem to be quite the accomplishment that you would like to think it would be.
Well, he was also pondering and reminiscing on Sunday, and he was asking a few of the riders at his Sunday morning breakfast. He says, I wonder if I'll live long enough and coach long enough maybe to get to 300. On the pace he's at, he'd be about 73, 74 years of age if he ever did reach that milestone, and certainly the 3rd of the century start right here, hopefully with number 201 from the Florida State perspective.
Well, he'll have a hostile crowd behind him, 72,000 plus, not a seat to be had here at Williams-Brice Stadium on a gorgeous afternoon for football. Talking to Mickey Andrews, Florida State defensively is going to have to control the ball on first down if they expect to win this ball game and contain South Carolina on the same down. Corey Miller, your defensive end, is going to get the kickoff duties. They've been kind of alternating that duty between him and Colin Mackey. It goes deep, and Eric Corral watches it go over his head. And And so it'll be first down Florida State at their own 20-yard line. The right side of this stadium is extremely loud, and hearing the signals is not going to be an easy task for number 11, Casey Weldon, the junior out of Tallahassee, who will lead his ball club onto the field for his second start. And the Seminoles do not seem to be intimidated by what is turning out to be a raucous crowd. There's Casey, 15 out of 25, 229 yards last week against Louisiana State. Spread the ball around very well. They'll have to do the same today. 4 wideout slot to either side, and Weldon will drop on first. Nearly intercepted. In and out of the hands of number 43, Antonio Walker, the junior out of Charlotte. He had it, and Keith Jones, I know you've been there before.
He's exhibiting the unfortunate board hands that defensive backs are unfortunately also known for. Only 1 interception. Florida State going with a hurry-up offense, wide open. You see the backs and receivers there. 4 wideouts right now.
On 2nd and 10. Weldon has a lot of time. Rolls out of trouble and rolls to the sideline. Knocked out at the 21-yard line by Gerald Dixon, the left side defensive end for the Seminoles, the junior out of Rock Hill, South Carolina. He has been a very pleasant surprise for Sparky Woods and his Gamecocks.
Again, Florida State going with a hurry-up offense. There you see Casey Weldon with offensive coordinator Brad Scott. No huddle.
Something different.
Now they'll regroup.
There's your offensive line. Stevenson, Haynes, Baker, Mars, and Reggie Dixon getting the start today in place of Kevin Mancini. 3rd down, a long 7. Draw play. Off to lead, no sir. Joe Reeves, your linebacker. He got some help from Kurt Wilson. And the Seminoles are 3 downs and out.
At this particular setting, Florida State has to be very leery of getting behind or letting the crowd and momentum get ahead.
John Wimberly will stand on his own 10-yard line. Single safety is Robert Brooks, but the ball's not going to get there. It will take a Seminole roll and out right at the 30-yard line. Well, I'll tell you, South Carolina had some troubles defensively the last 2 ball games, and this unit, at least at first, is fired up under defensive coach Rick Witt, who came from Appalachian State with Sparky Woods for South Carolina.
Woods brought quite a few of his coaches with him when he came last year, prior to last year's season. They're a very good group of coaches. They work very well together. Fuller, also from Appalachian State, just a junior now after he's set out a year.
This guy is a quarterback, folks. You're going to see some evidence of it. They run with a single back set in the H-back. Fuller, you don't want to do this. Give him time. And Fuller fires it way out of the way. Troy Horses and a very talented tight end in Charles Stewart. Rob DeBoer into the ball game for South Carolina at the tailback. This is DeBoer on the delay, 32-yard line, and that's all. Host the Seminoles get down there. Terrell Buckley was the first man to hit him. Rob DeBoer, freshman out of Omaha, Nebraska. They call him the Midwest Express.
Well, there you see the guard and the tackle pulling, and he gets right behind him. He's right at 195, 200 pounds on a 5'10 frame, and he's very tough to bring down. Very low center of gravity. And you can run out of that one-back set, as Florida State, unfortunately, has learned too well this year.
All right, they set up Dingle as the H-back now, with wideouts to either side. Miller and Brooks on 3rd down and 7. Fuller gets it across to Buckley, who intercepts it. Buckley down to the 32-yard line before he's wrapped up. Terrell Buckley, that's interception number 5 this year. Calvin Stevens, the right tackle, brought him down.
Buckley read that play all the way. Had he not intercepted the pass, South Carolina would have easily converted the ball just a little bit low on trajectory. And the Pascagoula, Mississippi Flash picks up interception number 5. Watch him, see how open behind, but he makes a good cut in front. And then he shows a little bit of that speed with the help of our slow-mo. Here's another look at it. Fuller just doesn't get enough air under the ball. Buckley with a good read, good instinct right underneath, picks it off.
Seminoles will line it up on the I, 1st and 10, dead on the 30-yard line. Ampli left and's got some room. To the 21-yard line, gain of about 9 yards on 1st down for the Seminoles. Troy Duke on the stop for South Carolina, the sophomore out of Norfolk, Virginia. Bobby Bowden made the statement this week that he'd like to see the offense be a little more dominating. They'll have to do it against this defensive line. Dixon and Miller are your two studs on that line for South Carolina. Very young linebacking core led by Patrick Hinton. Defensive backs the most experienced and probably the strength of this defense, so long as the defensive line puts some pressure on the quarterback. Second down and 1. Play action to Lee. Out in the flat it goes. Nearly intercepted again, and that would have been 6. Antonio Walker drops the second one of the first quarter.
That one much bigger than the early one because he had about 75 yards of green in front of him. Weldon much too slow in pulling the trigger. Watch him set. Should have thrown on that about that second set. Takes one other bop, and, well, folks, you see it there from the end zone. Another look from this angle. Throw the ball now. Waits just a little bit too long. Walker with a good break and would have been 80 yards. Correction of green in front of him.
Boy, oh boy. Reggie Johnson, the intended receiver. Third down and 1. Double tights for the Seminoles. Lee gets the first down and more down to the 15-yard line. Key to this ball game for South Carolina, Keith Jones, is the defensive line. It's a line that's been pushed around the last couple of weeks against the Citadel and North Carolina State. Undoubtedly, the key to this day is going to be their ability to control the offensive and defensive lines. If they can't do that, then Florida State could very well have a field day this afternoon.
Well, Coach Woods and his staff went to the 4-3 with 4 down linemen, 3 linebackers, as you see right there. Because of the talent of these folks coming into camp, they have not performed well the last couple of weeks.
To Amp Lee, right up the gut, down inside the 10 to the 7-yard line. Corey Miller, the All-American defensive end for South Carolina, the senior out of Pageland, brings him down.
Literally captain on this club for this game as well.
2nd and 2. Up the gut to Bennett. He's got the first down inside the 5-yard line. Marty Dye, the junior from Greenwood, South Carolina, defensive tackle, is there to bring him down. That's one thing the Seminoles did want to do today, is establish the running game. They're about 2-to-1 pass to run, and they've been working on that this week.
They have, although we up here, if you want to put it that way, a little confused when they come with the hurry-up offense and 4 wideouts to begin the first series. Coach Bowden and Brad Scott and the offensive course coach is always a new wrinkle. But yes, very much they wanted to try to look to get the run established, specifically using Bennett.
First and goal. Amp Lee, right side, nothing doing this time. Big number 92, Kurt Wilson. Also got some help from the rover back. Keith McDonald is there to bring him down. McDonald, the senior from Roswell, Georgia. South Carolina's had some trouble at linebacker. They've had a host of injuries. And Keith McDonald and Eric Brown on the outside are not playing their natural positions.
Great play by Wilson that time, number 92, getting off of influence block to get back outside on Amp Lee, following right down the line and stopping him for a loss.
2nd and goal from the 6-yard line. Weldon to Lee, that's 6. Amp Lee with his 9th touchdown on the year. He's now got 16 touchdowns in 16 games during his career, and the Seminoles take the early advantage.
Don't want to one-up you, Dave, but that's his 9th touchdown rushing. You also need to add 1 receiving. That's 10 on the year. He leads the Seminoles in scoring with 60 points now.
Andrews boots it through. So with 10 minutes and 19 seconds to go in this one, South Carolina felt it was important to go out to the early lead. It does not happen. 10:19 to go, and the Seminoles draw first blood. Brought out on the field one more time. Fuller, the number 8 passer in the nation in terms of passing efficiency. He's one of 2 players that Sparky Woods brought with him from Appalachian State. They were very careful when Sparky Woods and his staff left App State, if you look at the scoring drive, that they didn't take Appalachian State's players with them. Only 2 players came. Both did not come on scholarships. Both set out last year. One is Bobby Fuller. 3 wideouts to the near side. They duck it underneath to the H-back, and that's a first down to the 34-yard line to Ken Watson, the senior from Titusville, Georgia. Ken Alexander in on the stop for Florida State.
Good look right there of a key. Look at the trips right here at the bottom of your screen. Florida State does not drop out. One of them is going to be open quick. Fuller reads it, gets it to Watson. First down, Gamecocks. Florida State's going to have to move another man out, head up, to keep that from happening.
Mickey Andrews told me he was extremely concerned about Bobby Fuller and even more concerned about the big running backs for South Carolina, Dingle in particular. Watson looks pretty good on this one, though, doesn't he? Check it. That's Rob DeBoer from Omaha, Nebraska. This guy's a real story. This guy's a freshman. He's out of Nebraska. Nebraska wanted him to come play football as an I fullback out there, but he also wanted to play baseball, and Nebraska wouldn't let him do it. So here he is in Columbia.
Good point of attack blocking. Good tackler by Fowler downfield. That's a load.
You bet it is. Low center of gravity, and lots of people miss him. First down, Gamecocks, their own 45-yard line, and Fuller will check off. Buckley moves in tighter. Now they'll send your wide out in motion. To Dingle, your big running back who's wrapped up for a yard loss.
And when you say big, Dave, that's an understatement. Mike Dingle is 6'3", 245. That defensive line for Florida State, the Ostaszewski-Chaney starting for brother Joe up front. Those linebackers, they're going to have a tussle on their hands, especially Jones and Carruthers in the middle. There you see McCorvey, Reagans, Fowler, and Terrell Buckley, who's already got one INT.
Mike Dingle's 245 pounds, and he glides. He's a tough guy to bring down. Second down and 11 for the Gamecocks. Fuller, draw to Dingle. Reagans grabs him from behind. If Reagans doesn't make the play, Dingle may have the first down. Reagans, the senior from Live Oak. Now you see Mike Dingle's numbers on the year. Hasn't had the year that they would hope he would have, but still, he's a pro prospect. He's a standard one-back set type of guy. Good Redskin defense guy, a guy who could play well with the Steelers and their trap offense. Certainly got the size. Third down and 8 for South Carolina. Blitz by Florida State. No problem, though, as Fuller slides down into zone 39.
This has been the thing that's been most frustrating for South Carolina. In its position, 3rd and 8, where you've got to convert, and something silly happens. Something you wouldn't expect. Quarterback slips down.
So Darren Parker, who's a very good one, stands back at his own 25-yard line. Terrell Buckley, who's returned 2 this year for touches already, will stand back at his own 20. Parker, the 5th leading punter in the nation last year, has not had quite the year this year, largely because last year he was strictly a long kicker, and he's also had to do the pooch kicking this year, so his average is not quite what it was. High kick, real good hang time. Buckley will field it on his own 19, and now he's got room on the left.
Anytime Terrell starts that long-legged stuff,
it's trouble. We'll be right back after this from your Florida Gold Star Dodge dealer. Be back in a moment.
Buckley near about gets his head taken off, sidesteps, and then he starts that long-legged stuff that people, old folks like us, just can't do. And if not for one tackle right here, folks, he's gone.
Buckley's been banged up a little bit. He hasn't been able to really go full bore in practice this week. But he didn't look like it there, did he?
He brings such an excitement to the defensive side of the ball. Already seen the interception, his 5th of the year. He's number 9 in the country in interceptions, by the way. Punt returns, 2 of them for touchdowns. Interception returns for touchdowns. Big deflections. He's a very offensive-minded defensive player.
Okay, the Seminoles from their own 41 with Dawsey and Baker to either side and the lineup in the eye. Fake to Amp. Weldon in trouble. Makes the best of a bad situation and really gets a hit, and that's going to be a penalty. Troy Duke nailed him right on the sidelines. I mean, really nailed him. And Terry Monk and the officiating crew are going to say, you can't do that.
Well, Florida State has been guilty of issues and situations like that the last 2 or 3 games. And Casey obviously headed to the sidelines just a little bit late. I don't fault people for that, by the way, Dave. Those things happen. This is football. This is not a ballerina contest. You see good pressure up the middle. Weldon forced out. Very difficult to throw on a run like that for a right-handed quarterback. Clearly out. Just a good aggressive play, but not very intelligent. And that'll cost the Gamecocks 15.
That's what Sparky Woods and Rick Witt from South Carolina did not want to see. They were very concerned about mental mistakes. And there is one right there. So now the Seminoles back in South Carolina territory once again. Give us off to Bennett. Bennett nearly broke that tackle. Cedric Bembry, backup defensive tackle, 285-pound sophomore out of Miami, Carroll City to be exact, here to bring him down. 7 Florida natives on this South Carolina club.
3 of them right there on defense. When you talk about Bennett, you got to be, especially if you're a Florida State fan, just so excited about trying to get the ball in his hands. You and I had the opportunity to see his dad before the ball game at the hotel. Just a great family, great people. You want to just see good things happen to the Bennetts of the world.
Make no mistake, that guy's a pro prospect. And Lee's got the first down to the 30-yard line. Lee just slides to the left. Bembry is there to bring him down. You know, people don't give Edgar Bennett the credit that he needs. Here's a candidate for the Doak Walker Award, new award for running backs this year. Guy's a great blocker. He's an excellent receiver, as you see Amp Lee's numbers on the board. But this guy could play pro ball.
Amp Lee will tell you how valuable Edgar Bennett is.
You bet he will.
He can catch the ball, Ken Bennett. He can run. He can block. Amp Lee earning his own recognition as a potential pro prospect. They make a wonderful tandem back there in that Seminole backfield.
First down, Florida State. Fake is to Lee. Out in the flat it goes. Complete to the 32-yard line. Keith McDonald making the grab for South Carolina.
Just for clarification, excuse me, Dave, just for clarification, McDonald's really a strong safety. They call him a rover. He plays a much like a linebacker position. Carolina runs the old pro 4-3. They'll have 2 defensive tackles, 2 defensive ends, an inside linebacker, 2 outside linebackers, and then McDonald, who's free to go either way, most of the time will go to the field in a rover back position.
On 2nd and 8, Weldon sets. Little dump off across the middle to the tight end down to the 22-yard line. Dickie DeMacy on the stop for South Carolina, number 13. Dave Roberts, your senior out of Griffin, Georgia, gets his 19th grab of the year.
The tight ends at Florida State, Reggie Johnson, the starter. Dave Roberts, I guess you call him the co-starter. And then last week, Warren Hart. Florida State getting to the tight end much more here the last 2 or 3 ball games. We've already seen it a couple of times today.
3rd down and 1. They're going to stay in this one. They need to stop Florida State if they can. Likewise for the Seminoles. Double tights. Bennett got it on 2nd effort. They're going to mark it just inside the 20-yard line, and that'll be enough for the first down. Joe Reeves and Pat Hinton, the 2 middle linebackers, are there to make the stop, but not before that guy gets the first. There you see, Edgar.
Nothing fancy with the call. You just go to your bread and butter guy when you need it. Bennett delivers on 2nd effort to convert the first down for Florida State.
First down, Knowles, 20-yard line. Dawsey out near side, Baker to the far side. Weldon wants to roll left. Dawsey on the hook, drawing all sorts of coverage. And Weldon run out of bounds at the 15-yard line. Good job back there by the South Carolina secondary. Jerry Inman, the freshman out of Richmond, in there as the nickel back. Right in there with Dawsey.
Ground level look, it's going to be coming right at you. Now what Weldon's trying to do is get Dawsey on a comeback. Dawsey's run downfield, broke off to the sidelines coming back. He can't find him. Now he just settles in behind. You're going to see a smart play by number 29 in red right there, Surratt. Only a sophomore. He pulls off, saving a 15-yard penalty.
Weldon a little more mobile than his counterpart Brad Johnson, and shows some evidence of it. Gets 5 yards. Right up the gut to Bennett it goes. And that Florida State offensive line, Messrs. Morris, Baker, and Haynes are opening up some big holes. Joe Reeves on the stop for South Carolina. Florida State in there, 287, 240, 278. Not a bad size offensive line for one Edgar Bennett. Look at that average. 5 yards a carry, not too bad.
Weldon entering the contest, 62% completion, for this year. 696 yards coming in. He's over 700 now. 3 interceptions, 5 touchdowns. Knock on Casey and Coach Bowden and Brad Scott. What they were worried about in spring ball and camp was Casey would try to throw the ball into coverage. Weldon would try to force the ball. He's doing a good job of not doing that. There you see Bennett on the run again. Just a good little 5-6 yard pop right up the middle. Good blocking, as you were illustrating, by those hogs and Hawkses up front.
Third down and less than a yard. The Gamecocks bring the big guys in. Look for Bennett. They give it to Lee. Got the hole over the middle. Flag's down. Lee gets the first down, but where that flag is, you're going to look for a hold. And that's square on the 20-yard line. And the 72,000 come to their feet. 5 backs for the Gamecocks. Fake up to Lee, trying to get to Roberts. Nearly another interception off the hands of Dave Roberts and off the hands subsequently of Marty Baker, the free safety. And so the Gamecocks, by virtue of the penalty, hold. And Andrews will come on to try what looks to be about a 37-yard field goal.
Andrews 7 of 10. His longest is from 43. So within his range.
Plenty of leg. Wide, they say. Wide left, and the Gamecocks avoid one.
Again, we see where penalties, Dave, have cost Florida State momentum. In this particular case,
they want to remember, at that point in time, the Gamecocks were right in the top 10, and Florida State came in and really burst their bubble. Albert Haynes across the 20 to the 22-yard line. Haynes might be the best overall back on this South Carolina squad. The junior out of Hartford, Connecticut. Coming back from a broken ankle last year. Not quite as fast as he once was, but still plenty good. Bobby Fuller. He, like Brad Johnson, is not the type of quarterback that's going to run around a lot. He needs the time to throw. Second down, 7. Give is off to the tailback. That's Albert Haynes again. To the 26-yard line, right up at the last minute. Marvin just runs into people.
Well, he doesn't run into them. He runs through them. And I think that's the key, Dave. He runs through his tackles so that he doesn't lose any momentum.
Third down and 3. Dingle is the H-back. Fuller's got time. Dumps it off. Down to the 31-yard line. Far shy of the first down. George Rush out of the backfield. He's an H-back. He returns kicks. Double wide outs to both sides now for the Gamecocks. And Fuller will check off. Brooks and Miller on either side. And trouble for Bobby Fuller. In the form of number 99, the senior out of Miami, Anthony Moss.
5th sack on the year for Moss. I don't know if we'll get the chance to look at it, but it's a good thing he got in there. Folks, Florida State only had 10 people on defense. There was no safety in the ball game. You can't count them there, but there's only 10 white shirts out there. Moss does a good job of just getting right around the back and just covering up Fuller. Nowhere for him to go to record sack number 5, and it's a good thing.
Darren Parker's going to punt from his own end zone. The Seminoles set up for the block. 40 seconds to go in the first quarter. They better get this one off. They do, and here comes everybody. Good kick by Parker. Wobbly, but he gets it out of there. Buckley calls for the fair catch in the South Carolina 48. And again, Seminoles with great field position, something that Sparky Woods told us he did not want to see happen. They had to keep him out of good field position. Florida State may have run 3 plays this first quarter inside their own territory.
Well, Florida State enjoyed great field position last week. Same now. There you get it.
Seconds of the first quarter. Weldon from the South Carolina 48. Give us to Lee. Big hole on the right side. Lee inside the 40 to the 37-yard line before Ernest Dixon, the freshman out of Fort Mill, South Carolina, 240-pound linebackers there to drag him down. You know, Amp Lee's just a very consistent, economical runner. We'll have the opportunity to talk about him during the course of the telecast. But right now, this first quarter has been all Florida State. as we come to the end of the first stanza. Florida State leading 7-0 and threatening at the South Carolina 37-yard line. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this message from Gatorade. Nothing works better. Carolina, Florida State. Second down on the South Carolina 38-yard line. Here goes Amp Lee, and he's got another first for Florida State. Seminole offensive line so far, Keith, totally dominating here.
They really have. Florida State's run 7 or 8 plays in between the tackles. Isolation look with Amp Lee and a couple of times with Edgar Bennett. And they're really trying to attack that defensive line of the Gamecocks. They really think that that's an area they can exploit. And I think some of it partly due to the fact that the offensive line for Florida State has continued to get better as the season's gone along.
The whole unit seems to be gelling. Bobby Bowden said we'd like to see us be a little more dominating. If you call 35 points and 400 yards a ball game not dominating. Pat Blackwell makes the stop for South Carolina. Got some help from Reggie Dixon on Amp Lee. It'll be a second down and 8 for Florida State.
We talked earlier about the fact that it's not unlikely that these schools will, both of them, put the ball in the air. Florida State now going with the ground attack, and the clock's running.
We don't have the time of possession numbers in front of us, but they strongly favor Florida State. South Carolina has had 2 series and out. On 2nd and 8, play action to Lee, out to Baker. First down at the 17-yard line. Nice little curl in by Baker. Leon Harris, the free safety, the best secondary player overall for South Carolina, makes the grab.
Well, Harris, number 45, second on the team with tackles, wrapping up Baker. You're going to get a look at it coming at you. Good timing by Weldon. See him hop and step and throw. Baker right in the seam. Excellent route. Excellent delivery. Florida State converts the first down. Here you're going to get an angle from behind Casey. Step, throw. A little bit wobbly there, but quarterback coach Mark Rick will take that. They convert the first down.
Long as it gets there. This is Paul Moore. Moore down to the 11-yard line. Backing up Edgar Bennett. Mike Landry, backup linebacker for South Carolina, in there making the stop. Moore about the size of Mike Dingle, 6'1", 245-pounder. Big back.
Has really come on and solidified himself, has Moore as the number 2 fullback behind Bennett, making this coaching staff and Billy Sexton, the backfield coach, very confident to use him in any situation.
Complement each other very nicely. Big down for South Carolina on 2nd and 5, and that end zone starts to come alive. Lee on the pitch. First down, touchdown.
He makes it look so easy. I like the term that we're going to credit you for coining, Amp Lee, quietly efficient.
Just sort of glides, doesn't he? Not flashy, makes the one cut and then goes. And so the Seminoles drive 48 yards, and Richie Andrews will come on for the conversion.
He's been perfect this year as Andrews, 30 of 30. Now 31.
Keeps that streak intact. 12 minutes, 47 seconds to go. It has been all Florida State early. Back to Columbia in a moment.
No herky-jerky motion of his shoulders and his legs working, and it's just a pretty thing to watch. 6 plays, 46 yards, about 2.5 off the clock, and he scores, does Amp Lee from 11 yards out.
Gamecocks need to get this multiple offense going. DeBoer, your lone setback. Give us to Rob. At low center of gravity. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Seminoles bring him down. Let's go down the field and check in with Barry Milligan. Bear?
Well, Dave, as you guys were talking about a few minutes ago, the line play of Florida State has been the difference in this ball game so far. The offensive line has made one mistake, the holding penalty that probably cost Florida State a touchdown towards the end of the first quarter. They have made no mistakes since then, though, and the scoreboard reflects where the game's being won, and that's in the trenches.
No question. Second down and a long 4 for the Gamecocks. They go back to DeBoer again and runs head-on into Marvin Jones and loses that collision. Marvin Jones with 93 tackles this year, leading this club in that category. You know, Mickey Andrews said if this guy has a good offseason and really works on his fundamentals, he's still developing them, this guy might be the best linebacker in the country next year.
Well, he also said he's not coaching him. Jones, just a freshman. Mickey said he's scared of messing him up with too much coaching, Dave. He's just letting him play football, and he's anxious to get him in spring ball and learn a few things.
They run the stacked eye. Off to Dingle it goes. No, sir, that's not going anywhere. And the Boo Birds.
Natives don't like the call.
Indeed, come out here in South Carolina. Marvin Jones once again getting in there. Also got some help from Richard Coase, the right side cornerback for the Seminoles. 3 downs and out one more time for the Gamecocks. You can see what Sparky Woods is trying to do. He's trying to get the running game established to give him some room to throw, but so far they haven't had any luck at it at all.
Also probably trying to keep the Florida State offense off the field and eat up some clock time.
Yep. Parker will stand at his own 13-yard line. Buckley back at his own 29. Parker's hammering him today. You give him that. Buckley all the way back to his 20-yard line. Coverage is pretty good. Buckley can't get out of the grass. Brew Pender, who blocked a punt last week that led to a touchdown, brings him down. 10 minutes, 36 seconds to go in this one from Columbia. We'll return right after this from Florida. Under Bobby Bowden, Florida State has won 7 of 8, and they're well on their way to 8 of 9 now. If South Carolina can't come up with some way of stopping this offense. First down from the 25. This is Sean Jackson. Breaks 1, 2, 3 tacklers, and he's on his way. Antonio Walker from the left cornerback position saves the touchdown. Jackson all the way down to the South Carolina 29-yard line.
Every week it seems one of the reserves for Florida State does something that's a little bit different. Jackson had an earlier game this season where he was outstanding. Maurice Pickney had a big game last week. There you see the freshman out of New Orleans, 6'2", 220 pounds, showing good speed on that particular play. Big game.
The tail position looks bright for Florida State. Lee, a sophomore. Jackson, the freshman. Here goes Sean again. Corey Miller did a good job of getting in there early and grabbing him by the ankle. Trent Simpson finished him off.
Let's look at that earlier play. Same play that Florida State's run about 6 times now. A little hand tackle there, a missed tackle, and a good cut back outside. And there's a 220-pound man running away for some people. Antonio Walker, with good speed on his own and a good angle, drives him out of bounds. But very, very promising run there from a promising back.
Matt Fryer into the ball game along with Kevin Knox for the Seminoles. There are your wideouts. So Bobby Bowden giving the regulars a rest on this series. Jackson again on the left side of the Seminole line, just pushing people out. Stevenson's over there. Gibbs is over there. Dickie DeMacy, remember him from last year? Backup linebacker this year, makes the stop for South Carolina. DeMacy was the starting quarterback for the Gamecocks last year against the Seminoles in Tallahassee. Came in for the injured Todd Ellis. They converted him to a linebacker this year.
Todd Ellis, pretty much an enigma here in University of South Carolina. Threw for almost 10,000 yards in his 4 years.
On 3rd and 2, they won't get it. Joe Reeves, the plugger linebacker, as Sparky Wood likes to call him, along with Keith McDonald, is there to make the stop on Jackson. Reeves, in addition to being a great linebacker, is an excellent student as well. Academic All-American.
Going to get a look at it down the line. Nothing fancy, simple handoff, but good penetration by Reeves. He steps around from his outside linebacker position, gets right in position with some help from his friends. Florida State comes up short.
On 4th and 1, Bobby Bowden's going to go for it, but not until they talk about it. Casey Weldon calls the time as the 72,000 once again come to their feet. Go over and talk to his head mentor for a moment. So with 8 minutes and 24 seconds, we'll step aside. But Seminoles up 14-0 and threatening once again. Beautiful day in Columbia, beautiful day on the field so far for Florida State. 4th and 1 just outside the 20, up 14-zip. They stack it to the left side. Weldon to the tailback. Jackson, he submarines for what looks to be the first down. Marty Dye, the unfortunate guy who the play got ran over. Junior out of Greenwood makes the stop on Jackson, but I think he got it.
It's going to be very close, although I, like you, think he did. But if they bring the sticks out, you're going to be amazed at how close this is.
Marty Dye, the unfortunate guy who the play got ran over. Junior out of Greenwood makes the stop on Jackson, but I think he got it.
It's going to be very close, although I, like you, think he did. But if they bring the sticks out, you're going to be amazed at how close this is. Not nearly as good a spot as one might have hoped. Jackson submarining, and oftentimes when you do that, what happens, Dave, is that they mark you at your knee. You may have extended on, the ball may have crossed another 3 or 4 or 5 feet, but they'll mark you at your knee, and I think you're going to be surprised at how close this is.
They made it by the skin of the football. So the Gamecocks will go to their second teamers. They're going to play a lot of guys in this ball game, does South Carolina, and Sparky Woods had a lot of troubles the last 2 weeks with missed tackles. They missed 26 against North Carolina State. And he said, we're going to simplify things today. We're not going to blitz as much. We're going to keep the rushes simple, and we're going to play a lot of guys. First down, Seminoles. Pitch, Jackson. Corey Miller's there. Also got some help from Kurt Wilson. You mentioned it, Keith. This is a 4-3 set, a normal pro set, and normally when you have that kind of set, you look for 4 big guys up front. South Carolina's line is not big.
They're not huge by any stretch. Dixon is 252, Miller 250, the 2 defensive ends. They're 260 and 277 in the middle with Wilson and Dye, but they're very, very agile. That's what I mean. When Woods came in to spring ball, he said, we've got enough defensive linemen to run this scheme. He moved from a traditional 50 to a 4-down lineman.
Second down and long. Jackson up the middle, wrapped up by a host of Gamecock defenders. Pat Hinton leading the charge, the leading tackler on this ball club, the senior out of Atlanta. Hinton's a Kurt Carruthers type linebacker, Keith. He's not a big guy. He's got to make the play athletically. He's just not big enough to shed the offensive lineman.
He's really not, and he's one of these guys that gets a little lighter during the season. Number 46 in red there, but he's very aggressive. He's got a good nose for the ball, and he'll sting you when he gets there. He just doesn't have a lot of weight on him.
They're going to send Matt Fryer wide and Jackson in the slot with a single back set on 3rd down and 10. Weldon going for it all for Dawsey. I tell you, he and Antonio Walker were really fighting down there in the end zone. And Walker got the best end of that argument. Oh, wait a minute. Now they got a flag down, but it's in the backfield.
Let's take an isolation, excuse me, Dave, take an isolation look at Dawsey. Simple fly power, and Walker just runs him out of bounds. See, right there, Dawsey's no longer an eligible receiver. Actually, a good play by Walker. Some people thought it might have been close on interference, but just a good play by Walker to get Dawsey out of bounds and make him ineligible.
Now, Sparky Woods is going to have a decision to make, and he's going to say, let's take the yardage. It's going to be holding against Florida State. And he just made the motion, let's back them up 10. So the Seminoles will have 3rd down one more time.
We'll replay 3rd down.
Obviously, you refuse the penalty. Florida State with a 4th and 10 more than likely will kick for 3. Sparky Woods hoping his defense can hold here.
Florida State showing that they wanted to go downfield on that particular play. The textbook says right now you run screens or draws.
Dawsey and Fryer are your... Jackson on the draw. You called it, Keith. Down to the 25, and that's all. Troy Duke playing behind Corey Miller today. He's getting a lot of action. He is there to make the grab. Actually, he and Miller lined up at twin defensive ends on that particular set.
You may wonder why, excuse me, Dave, you may wonder why you call a play like that. Why does the textbook say to run a screen or draw? But anytime you're between the 40 and the 20, you got a reasonably good field goal kicker. You don't want to give it up.
43-yard attempt by Andrews. Plenty of length, and he nails it. Richie Andrews has been pounding him the last couple of weeks. Knocks that one through. And Florida State extends its lead to 17-zip. Richie Andrews, the number 4 scorer in FSU history. It's Monday night. We continue our Miami Dolphins Monday Night Magazine show with Paul Kennedy. That's 7 o'clock. Coach Tom Olivedati and Mark Logan will be Paul's guests. That's 7 o'clock this Monday night. Great show if you haven't had a chance to watch that. Now the South Carolina Brain Trust is going to have to regroup at halftime, that's for sure. They've been hit by a Florida State buzzsaw here in the first half. Offense has been totally ineffective, and that Florida State offensive line and linebacking core supporting so well. South Carolina just unable to get anything going.
There you see Andrews. We're going to get a good up close and personal at halftime, and probably gets most everyone's vote for most improved player this year.
Kick, and this one will not be returned. Eddie Miller, who has done nothing today, really. We really expect a lot of deep throws to Eddie Miller and a lot more offensive capacity out of Eddie Miller. Florida State has just flat shut he and Robert Brooks down. I don't believe Fuller's even thrown to either one of those two.
They really haven't. Carolina's tried to keep the ball on the ground, and they've done a little bit of the short passing. One of the reasons they've had to do that is their field position. They've been backed up. Florida State, on the other hand, a 49-yard drive, third time that they've scored in short possessions, 9 plays, a little over 4.5, and Andrews converts the 43-yard field goal.
Big series for South Carolina here. Need to try and get something on the board before half. Fuller, play action, got a man. That's the tight end Stewart. Charles Stewart, the junior out of Valdosta, Georgia, pulls down catch number 14 on the year, and this guy is a real solid talent. He was a wide receiver in high school.
He's 6'2", 245. He really has the same qualities that Reggie Johnson does on the Florida State side, toting about a 13-yard average per catch, which is quite high for a tight end as well.
And they move the H-back out into the slot now. That's Mason, or rather Watson. And the give is off to Dingle, and he's got lots of room on the right side. Bill Reagans and Corian Freeman saved the touchdown, but everybody fooled on that play, and Mike Dingle at 245 pounds took off.
Great cutback by Dingle right there. Corner out of the play. Freeman, as you say, and Reagan saved the touchdown. That's 245 pounds running down that sideline with very good speed. Reminds you a lot of Harold Green, who was here earlier. Remember George Rogers, the Heisman Trophy winner in the late 70s and 1980? Just a talented running back is Dingle, number 6.
Yeah, I asked Coach Art Wilkins, the offensive coordinator, about Mike Dingle and asked him just that comparison. He said, well, a Harold Green and a George Rogers, a little bit more of a slasher. Dingle is a glider, a lumbering glider that breaks a lot of tackles. He slashed pretty well on that play. So South Carolina, first time they've been in FSU territory the entire first half. At halftime, Stacy Strazis will take that up close and personal look at Richie Andrews, and we'll be announcing the Gatorade grab bag winner here at halftime, aided by the lovely and talented Keith Jones.
Hey, I know those first half stats and maybe even a few highlights. What do you think?
Still got lots of time to go in the first half. Bobby Fuller this time out right now to talk about it.
Funny quarterback, you have to check in with the officials and make sure that
nothing doing. Also Troy Sanders.
Joe Ostraszewski, normal note. You see James Chaney, number 96, in there for him. Chaney come along from an injury.
Wide open, but he overthrows Brooks. Oh, goodness, and Bobby Fuller, please let me pull that string back. Nobody within 5 yards of Robert Brooks.
He can right hand part of your screen. You may be able to see it. Brooks is going to go across the middle. Where's Terrell? Not even in the...
Tough break. Colin last year.
The kicking game for Carolina, very good last year. As we've mentioned, at 45, Darren's average is off.
Coverage has been mediocre at best. That's one of the reasons why you see Corey Miller teeing it up right now for South Carolina in high school, and a pretty good one. Mackey.
Florida State.
Pretty versatile. Academic All-America.
Already Florida State.
Low held. But at least
for Dave, anytime you have side Burton and They just do a great job at all levels. But
Lee from a next